Hi, this is Karen Cubico, and today we're going to talk about another way to heal a relationship pattern through past life regression. And this time the pattern is on perfectionism and being type A. It is interesting because this particular relationship pattern where you are going above and beyond, trying to make everything perfect, everything wonderful, and everything has to be just so. Sometimes people call it OCD, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. Sometimes it is type A where you're like everything has to be just so and you go extra on doing whatever it is that you're doing. Or you get stuck in that mode of everything has to be so perfect that sometimes you don't even complete things because there's always one more thing you can do, one more thing you can edit, one more thing you can fix or figure out, or whatever the case may be to make it just right. Well, guess what? Newsflash, there's no perfection. It's an impossible task. So I've had several people come to me to talk to me about this particular type of relationship pattern, or it came up in a reading. Why am I working myself to death trying to make everything perfect and to try to understand that type of habit they have in their life? So a few examples that I'm going to share with you come from my book, Making True Love, which is all about loving yourself, and resolving these types of relationship patterns is another way of learning to really accept yourself for who you are and to love yourself in such a full, deep way. So I had a woman come to me. She was trying to figure out why she had to have everything just so all the time. It was exhausting for her. Her nail color had to match her shirt. She had to have her hair just so. If you're coming to me for a past life regression, dress comfortably is going to be the best thing that you could choose to do. It is literally for your experience when you have a past life regression. But she came all dressed up, full makeup, hair perfect, an extra step that she didn't have to take. One of the things she wanted to work on was this need for her to have everything just perfectly done. And in this past life, she remembered being a young girl. She went back to the moment that she was born. Her mom died in childbirth, and she remembered that part of it. So that was super sad. Her dad, who traveled for a living on ships, like a merchant delivery person to deliver different kinds of goods and services for others through traveling on ships from port to port. So he needed to find someone to take care of her. He eventually found a very distant aunt and uncle of hers that lived very far inland, and they agreed to take care of her as an infant while he continued to work. Now, there was the agreement for her distant aunt and uncle that they would get lots of money. He gave them all kinds of bags of coins and other treasures and things, and the uncle was very greedy and always wanted or expected way more every time he would stop by to visit, to check on her. When she was still an infant at 6 months old, her father never returned. And the aunt and uncle thought she was just abandoned by him. But news did not get provided to this aunt and uncle. But her dad actually died. But in the meantime, her aunt and uncle didn't know that. And they got real upset because they stopped receiving these sometimes weekly bags of coins and other treasures that her dad would give them. And so now they started calling her literally the burden. And so they went from treating this child as some pride and joy and took really great care of her to someone that they didn't really care for anymore and really didn't nurture and love like you should. So she was actually called a burden in that past lifetime by her own distant aunt and uncle who agreed to take care of her. Now, they all did not know that the dad had died, and that's why he wasn't able to return. So they kept her there and called her the burden the whole time. What they did have her do is all the work and all the cooking. They would have her run all the errands, and they lived up on a hillside, and she would have to go all the way down into town to go to the market or whatever the case may be for them. So she worked endlessly for them and would still be neglected and really treated badly, emotionally even. But what happened terribly at the end of her life that was quite short, she was only a teenager at the time, while she was doing an errand, she slipped and fell, and a horse and buggy had gone past right at that moment and sliced her legs off right at the knees. She then couldn't go anywhere or do anything. A local butcher actually fixed her knobs for legs, and she was able to continue to live in a sense. Some lady took her in and cared for her for a little while, but because she was so used to not being taken care of, she was not open to receive that. And so she's like, no, if I sit out here, my aunt and uncle will come find me and take me back in. They never looked for her. According to what she remembered, she was now homeless, living on the streets, begging. And a man walked past, hit her in the head, and that actually killed her. He hit her and said, "You're such a burden to society." So her whole life, she felt like she was a complete burden. And so in this current lifetime, she did things above and beyond the normal call of duty so that she would never be considered a burden in her family, at her work, to her relationships. And so it became exhausting for her because she was always worried she would be left behind in some kind of burden type of way. And make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I had another woman come to me. She was very close to a grandmother who had passed. And during her past life regression experience, her grandmother came through to show her how to heal her own personal type A type of personality. And she went right into a past life where she was a young girl in a busy market area over in Europe somewhere hundreds of years ago. And she was stolen from the market. She was in the middle of the market with her own mother as a young child. There was a captain of a local ship that would do merchant related things, and he was looking for a child to take the place of a child that he lost. And so he snatched her up. They took her on board of this ship and kept her like she was their own. And after a while, she was made to cook and clean and be part of like the servants type of situation. But this captain, who was sort of her pseudo dad now, because she was not permitted to talk about anything that had to do with her old life before she was on the boat. Otherwise she would get beaten in that past life. She was not sure how to feel true love from somebody in that lifetime. I mean, she kind of felt like she was cared about by this person who was the captain that stole her from the marketplace, but it wasn't really great. Do you know what I mean? Because he kind of had her just doing like slave work and cleaning and cooking and all those types of things to make her feel worthy of staying on the boat. And she had witnessed others being thrown overboard if they didn't do their job, working on the boat in a particular way, or they were lazy or something like that. So she kept busy. But what happened at the end of that lifetime is that her pseudo captain dad didn't even want her to date. And so a gentleman that was near to her age came on board and started working on the ship. They fell in love, and when he found out, it did not go well. And while she fell in love with this guy, they became quite intimate. Now, she was 17 years old at this memory moment in this past life when her pseudo captain dad found out this guy was dating her and kissing her. The captain beat him to death and left him for dead at the next port. Weeks went past, and she found out that she was pregnant to this guy who was no longer around, or probably even alive, actually. She had no idea. And when she found out she was pregnant, this captain beat the crap out of her. And in doing that, she got knocked overboard and died. She died believing that she was responsible and had to do her duty to stay alive on this ship. She wasn't allowed to have a love life of any kind, and it ended really badly. So then in this lifetime, she felt like she had to overcompensate again, do all those types of things to prevent any kind of abuse or death in her life. So how do you heal from all those types of things, all these patterns? Well, you can do forgiveness work. Forgiving those lifetimes, forgiving yourself in those lifetimes, forgiving the people involved, the abuse, anywhere you stored that trauma, releasing it from your energy and allowing the angels to help you heal, or replacing it with that pure unconditional love energy within your entire energetic being. If you are in any kind of situation or have a relationship pattern that you'd like to heal, please stay to the end. I have a guided meditation that takes you into a past life or wherever you need to go in order to heal from a relationship pattern. Lots of love and light to you.